A phone down 10,000 million foot gorge today, a zip line.
That's full compliment.
It is
Here tonight. That's good to see.
Oh, really? Really did.
We're hearing more copies of the agenda.
Very good.
Everybody else on the agenda. We don't want to be one. Good to back. You're talking ownership. So since we've got everybody here, I guess we can officially get started. Before we adopt tonight's agenda, a couple of introductions to make. Our new CAO, he goes by the name of Sundance, so we're not going to get into last names. Sundance for short. And Sundance, you're going to introduce a couple other staff members.
Yeah. Thanks, Councilor Paul and Jim. So we've got Stephen Fleming on the bottom. Stephen is our interim corporate officer who's going to be helping me out. I think he attended a previous meeting, so you might recognize him from there. Up top, we've got Ken Bjorgard and Mallory. This is public, so I can share, but Mallory has resigned. Her last day is on Friday of this week. So Mallory's our current chief financial officer, and Ken is helping out in interim. Ken has lots of experience and he's been here a week, so he's just getting up to speed as well, but he's joining us as well. And then of course we've got Caitlin who's assisting us here as well.
Excellent. Thanks for doing that, Caitlin. And just we're going to go around the table since we've got a couple of new faces here in the crowd so that everybody knows who's here. First of all, Jim Bond, Chair, Councillor for the City of Powell River. Ken Coleman.
Kessel. Jesse McCall.
Christian Yerka,
Jim Parsons.
Paul Bombardier,
Terry Rall. I believe that's
Rod Fraser, Surrey City.
So, just before we adopt the agenda, I just want to know your official capacities and how you fit into the harbor discussion here tonight. I think that's very important for everybody to understand. So, Rod, I'll give you.
Acting Director of Infrastructure, so Harbour's falls under my purview at the moment, so and then Cam Reed is our Manager of Transportation, and one of Cam's portfolios is the Harbour.
Okay. And I guess that's about.
Yeah, sorry, I showed it. I just assumed that they all knew you two guys there. Sorry, Ken. I'm sorry.
I think most.
Okay, yeah.
So, let's get on with tonight's business. So first of all, call for adoption of tonight's agenda. Do I hear any additions or deletions on the agenda tonight? Before.
I got a late request to add to the agenda. It's a little bit too late to, in my opinion, it's a little late to get circulated. We've got.
What is that, Ken?
It's from commercial fishermen requesting it designate flow 3 back to commercial only, stern berthing, which I brought up multiple times, but and will continue to.
So that's a letter you just received from.
This is the hard copy that Christian just helped me, but I did receive that electronic version.
Is that the only copy you have, or do you have electronic version?
I've got an electronic one.
Okay, I wonder if we could give that to Caitlin for our next meeting.
Don't have it. It's on the phone.
Oh,
okay. But I could certainly give this Caitlin for consideration.
And then you can send her an electronic copy for the next meeting so she can add it to our agenda and we can officially deal with it.
If the group pleases, we can discuss it this later, but.
What's the issue again?
It's requesting service essentially, so.
So let's do it in the proper process, which is hand this over to Caitlin for now, with the electronic version for the first meeting we have in November. And we can deal with it, and everybody will have a chance to have a pre-read before we have any discussion. Okay, sound good? Okay, so anything else, any other additions or deletions? Hearing none, call for adoption of tonight's agenda. Moved by Jesse. Seconded by Jim. All in favor? Unanimous. Okay. Any opposed? I should have said that. Plans near. Unanimous. Minutes of the Harbour Advisory Committee meeting last held on July 2nd. Any comments, concerns on the minutes before you? Somebody else gonna say it? Yeah. You have something to review, what number are you referring to?
Right, and it's on the discussion of the committee report, the 6.1.
Harbour Committee report?
Yeah.
So
It's read, staff report of the report will not be made publicly available until it receives the full review by.
So just, is this a problem with what's in the minutes or because we have that item on our.
Problem with the minutes.
Okay, go right ahead.
It will say that they will not be made publicly available until it receives a full review by staff and or legal. That was not part of the discussion. The discussion was that the report would not be publicly released until it underwent legal review. That was for issues of liability, nothing to do with staff. I think that's a pretty substantial change. I'm a bit disappointed, but it appears in the form it does, that it should read pending a full review by legal.
So your concern is, and I'll refresh everybody's memory as to the response we got from, I think it was Jessica who was heading up this, the response.
Well, she was reported that somebody
She said it couldn't be made public at that point because of legal implications. So that's right.
said there was concern about liability and the report had to undergo legal review before it could be made public.
So I guess the question is, did it go for legal review or of any type? Is anybody aware?
The question of minutes though is just taking out the staff and minutes should reflect what was said at the meeting. What was said at the meeting was a full review by legal.
Did you review them? Did you listen to them?
Terry.
That's what I asked.
Yeah.
If that's what it said, then just amend the minutes to reflect that, and then the next part of the conversation take place with the item, I think, probably.
Okay, so we could discuss that further later on tonight's agenda. Yeah. Okay, so the change you would like to see reflected here, then, what would that be?
Well, just the second line, top of page 2, receives a full review by the lead staff and slash and so it will read a full review by legal.
Okay, so I just want to clarify. What we have before us tonight, in terms of that report, is a review by staff. No mention of legal in the legal review.
There's no indication that there was any legal review ever undertaken, but that's a discussion item.
He's just correcting the minutes, and it's nothing to do with what's further on the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay,
He's pretty, and that's just what I remember. And
Okay.
And that's the only change, the only comment I have in the minutes.
Jason, could you just read back what that second line will say?
So it will say staff reported that the report would not be made publicly available until it receives a full review by legal.
So, got staff, so we just wanted to say legal. So with that change in mind, I guess we should have a vote on that change. Do we need a vote?
On document minutes.
Yeah, we need a vote.
Well,
So,
a vote on the modification and then a vote on the minutes.
It's approved as modified.
Motion to amend. That was voting on the motion to amend the minutes.
Oh, yeah.
All in favor of the motion that you made to amend
motion
it
to
to
change
change.
to amend the minutes as stated. All in favor? Those opposed? Seeing none, unanimous. Okay. Anything else? Anything else?
No, sir.
Josh, do you have anything? Very good. So I'll call for adoption of the minutes as presented. Moved by Rob. Oh, you have some?
No.
Moved by Rob, seconded by Jesse. All in favor? Second. So we now move to reports. Report update from financial services, Interim Financial Officer. We have a financial officer.
Yes, it's Ken.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. This financial report that's being presented tonight shows the actual results from January 1st to July 31st of 2025, which would be for 7 months of the year. We also show the 2025 budget and a comparison with the 24 actual results and the 2024 budget. From a bottom line perspective, things seem to be on track. Some overages and some underages that kind of balance each other out. And seem to be on track to achieve the 2025 budget. At the bottom of the report, also, it provides some detail around some of the more intricate expenditure items, that being materials and supplies and miscellaneous expenses. And if you note for note 3, the Harbour Reserve is at the end of 2024 was at $1.864 million. So, of course, the net profit from 2025 would add to that reserve, and which seems that the reserve will go up again quite substantially in 2025. If there's any questions, I will try to answer them. I haven't been around that long, though.
And we appreciate your input. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for our interim financial officer? I have several. You have several? Yeah. Okay, go right ahead. Ken, you have the floor here this time.
Thank you. This is, I think, I don't know, almost a typo of sorts. And it happened last time we got a financial report from the city for years up to 2023. Power commercial shows $197 and $478 in 2024. We did initially get some very low figures like that in the financial report for previous years, and then when we questioned the amount, it was revisited, and the revised figure that came back was significantly higher. Power commercial in 2023 was $9,059, 2022 $7,960, etc. So I think those figures are wrong, and if whatever review that was done in 2023 is done again, you'll probably come up with the correct ones.
Well, thank you. Yeah. If we could just talk about that one, maybe. It sounds like in the past there's been some misclassification into that category. And so I'll have staff look at that particular line item. Okay.
Yeah, it's just not plausible that all the commercial boats in there only paid $197 per year.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, just an aside, and I'm getting to the more substantial stuff in a minute here, but shower revenue in 2024 for a full year is less than it was in 2019. And I think it has been less in previous years since the showers went to this card system. And this may not mean anything to you, given how new you are or whatever. I think that may be something the committee will make a recommendation, but at some point come up with a more user-friendly way for people to pay for showers. I suspect that's impacting shower revenue if we're worried about $2,000 a year in additional revenue. Under wages and benefits, previously we were told what the FTE equivalents were. Can we get that again?
We can have that added to the next report, yes.
Great. Now I'm going down to the bottom of expenses. But before I go there, I'm just going to say to make a general comment. I appreciate getting this updated information, but I'm a little disappointed at the format that it's in. When we received the information for previous years, I think I was echoing the views of a few other people on this committee, pointed out that these consolidated figures don't have any applicable bearing on each of the harbors. Now, North Harbor, revenue and expenses and surpluses are dealt with discreetly from South and Westview. And then, South and Westview, of course, are dealt with as a combined, I think, accounting, whatever you want to call it. Now, part of the reason that's important, I think, is that surplus revenues from North Harbor are allocated to the North Harbor Reserve and what on here is called property taxes, and I'm going to be saying more about that in a minute. But we'd like to know what the total profit from North Harbor is. And I know how much was allocated to the North Harbor Reserve because it's in the 2024 annual report. And it was the highest amount by a significant margin. $206,000 went to the North Harbor Reserve for 2024. What's not indicated anywhere here is how much was paid on the long-term loan and interest, which I think is the only other expense item not accounted for in this report. And then, of course, if we're going to figure out or look at what North Harbor revenues were and profit was, we need to know what the expenses were specific to North Harbor. That information, I believe, is in the annual report. So the only missing item again would be the interest and the total revenue for North Harbor. So is that something we could get at the future meeting?
Certainly. So from what I understand is you would like to see a separation of the North Harbor revenues and expenses from the South Harbor with those that are separable.
Yeah, we'd like to see the harbors broken down the way the city treats them for accounting purposes and purposes of determining surpluses and what happens to those surpluses.
Sure. I'm sure we could create that for the next report.
That would be great. Thank you. And I just want to know, last item under, the second last item under, well, I'll go to the simpler one first. Fiscal services and debt charges. So I think that's right. I already mentioned that used to include interest on the long-term loan, but doesn't now. Just wonder what the reason for excluding that from fiscal services and debt charges is, if you know.
I believe the debt charges would include interest.
No, again, I'm looking back at the 2023 report. Fiscal services and debt charges were 112,000 or almost 113. This doesn't include interest on the long-term loan, which would have been in the $60,000-$70,000 range.
Okay. Again, we can look into that.
Yeah, it's a change in accounting. I'd just like to know what the reason was, and as I mentioned earlier, what those interest costs were. And then the last one, and maybe the most, I don't know, sensitive perhaps, for lack of a better word, on the property taxes under North Harbor, $69,124. Less profit. And this harkens back to the last time the North Harbor bylaw was updated by council in late 2022 with the intent that North Harbor would rates were set for North Harbor such that they would generate a profit for the city. Up until that point, North Harbor was explicitly operating on a break-even basis, and then surplus went into the North Harbor Reserve. And so this item called property taxes originates in the rationale that the previous CFO presented to council in recommending some pretty significant rate hikes. And that rationale talked about based on discussions that the previous CFO apparently had with BC Assessment, that harbor users are occupiers, as is defined under the BC Assessment Act or whatever other applicable acts or regulations there are, and thus we should be paying property tax even though it's a city-owned property. Now, this is the first time I've seen it actually formalized. I talked to BC Assessment myself around that time, and talking to a senior assessor or appraiser, I forget what the title was, but it had her scratching her head. So in the discount property taxes, I'm assuming there have to be records of the discussions that the previous CFO had in DC assessment. There had to be correspondence going back and forth about the interpretation of the acts and the regulations and whether or not harbor users are in fact occupiers. And so I'm wondering, I mean, I would like to see what other records there are of those discussions. I'm skeptical, I guess maybe you can tell. But, and I guess I'm not really expecting a response, but hopefully those can be made available, or I can have a line and stick someone to me really. But I would like to see that in the property taxes being formalized here in the record. I don't know if you can possibly, what sort of response you might have to that.
Yes, I understand there's some background to this. I was briefed on it briefly. And I understand it was also involved in a discussion with the auditor. So certainly we can bring back the background to refresh everyone's memory.
Okay. I think, you know, it'd be a lot cleaner and I think a lot more straight up if you just call it profit. What the hell's around calling it profit? Anyway, let's see where that goes. Yeah, that's all I have. So pending whatever additional information can be made available. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ken. Any other questions, comments, financials? Ken always does a thorough job on that. We appreciate it.
Yeah, not bad for the first go, Ken, thanks.
Thanks, Ken. We
Okay.
Look forward to your update next meeting in November.
Okay, I will
So,
sign off.
yeah.
If you don't need me any further, I'll sign off.
Thank you, Ken. I appreciate it. Have a good night again. Okay, next up, 5.2, follow up on Harbour Committee members report. And we've got that before you with not the legal interpretation, but staff comments throughout the document. And does anybody have any questions or comments?
Can we throw it to Cam to
Sure. So let's start.
maybe?
Cam.
Yeah.
I guess those comments came from you, Ken?
Yeah, working with staff. And I mean, I just want to recognize that obviously this is the committee's report. So these are just observations, comments, stuff that we're kind of throwing back because we were asked to do so. Okay, so as far as the confusion around staff versus legal or whatever, I really don't know. So I just want to make that clear.
Fair enough.
And really, I mean, I don't think it makes sense to read through the whole thing, but if there are parts that we'll do questions about, absolutely. You know, again, these are just staff thoughts, staff comments. Maybe they clarify some things, maybe they don't. Maybe they make more questions for the committee, I'm not sure.
So I'd be curious just to get your first take on a lot of good work that's been done by committee members on this report, outlining many of the issues that we need to deal with in our harbors. What went through your mind when you were reading through it?
Actually, I think we agree in a lot of places that, you know, there's stuff that can be improved upon. A couple of little points of potential difference. I don't think they're significant. Obviously, there's always that, if you want to call it a clash between some operational, you know, that's what we do as operations. This committee is advisory. That's my understanding, right? It's to give input. Well, I mean, that's, you know, that's, it says in the title, Harbour User Advisory Committee. So I kind of go by that. So obviously there's going to be some differences. But at the same time, there's a lot of commonality. So yeah, I mean, I appreciate the work that's gone into this. I think it's good to have things kind of crystallized, right? Because I mean, I was out of the game for a while too. So this is helpful for me. That's really it from my perspective.
I wonder if before getting into the sort of review specifics, is there anybody here who can speak to what happened to the legal review that was essential in July that seems to have been forgotten by October?
So My understanding of this, and I wasn't at the meeting, but my understanding is that this version of it is a revamped version than the version that was actually at the meeting. And so this version has been kind of cleaned up a little bit to get rid of some of those things. So there's your answer.
Okay, that wasn't where.
So I see staff and nodding his head to that effect, so he was the main writer of this,
Yeah,
with
okay.
input from others, so I guess that is the case, and things have been cleaned up.
Yeah, there's some wording differences, there's some things that,
On a liability type nature, what you said?
like you said, it's been cleaned up.
To the chair, or you not moving the changes that were made, or
Not necessarily.
did it change the context of what?
In some regards, yes.
I'll ask you this question then, Sasha. With the changes that were legally necessary in terms of staff's perspective, it really hasn't changed your overall report to any great extent, has it? And to deal with the issues upon table.
Were the changes made by legal counsel or were they made by staff?
Thank God, Rob.
I'm not 100% sure if it was staff with legal assistance or what, but I don't know how big of a difference it really makes at this point. My sense is that it went through a review to make sure there was nothing that was going to get us in trouble for going public. And this meeting's public, and this is public, and the goal was to put it in a forum that everyone could speak to, right?
So I'm still happy having your name on it.
If I was gonna release one to the public, I'd rather release the one that I wrote, but
Okay, but in terms of safety, from the city's perspective, some of these changes were necessary and legal basis. So, you have any further comment on that?
I would like confirmation that that is the case. All the changes that were made for legal reasons.
And I think that's what we just heard.
Well, we haven't heard a lawyer actually review it.
You know, again, before I got here, so I'm just passing on what I heard in terms of the version coming forward there, right? And I mean, we can get into semantics on it, but the idea is that we want this in a forum that can be talked about in public and go to council, right? So that's my understanding of what to.
So first, Kate, thank you. Comments are great. We appreciate all that. If city was modified, if the content of the report was modified, it would have been nice and appropriate, I think, to have underlined what the changes were so we could see it. Now it's requiring, so now I have this interesting question, which is why I asked Sasha, is it materially changed what I voted on? And I don't remember exactly word for word, and I'd have to go back and check it. So it's kind of inappropriate to be sending back our comments revised because that part is other versions.
Sasha seems to agree with
I
that.
agree, yeah.
So I think we should table this till next meeting. We can see when we can get a compared version, or I can run software that'll compare the versions if that's what they have to do to figure out what changes were actually made, so we know whether we're happy. Because I don't know right now.
Suggesting table the whole item.
I think we could discuss Cam's comments, but I think that we had sent something to council. It's been changed and come back to us. I would think for our approval that, yes, this is okay. We'd like to send this on. And I can't comment right now because I didn't read it in mind of it having been changed by somebody else. I just read it in mind with Cam's responses to our comments.
They're quite a small thing. So, Rob, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I mean, when we discussed this at the last meeting, there was amendments that we made as a group to some of it, Sash, and I remember taking notes and stuff, and there's still stuff that went through now that I see that isn't correct. So I'm a little bit disappointed that that stuff didn't get rewritten and taken out prior to it going to council. I think that if it was rewritten, it should have come back to us to be looked at before it went to council and then off to staff. But there's still false information in it that we talked about and it was not removed. So I'm a little disappointed on that side of it from the working respect.
Okay, so we've got one major item there to deal with. So how is the best way to handle this, Sundance?
You know, honestly, it's challenging for me because I wasn't at the meeting and I didn't know what the first version was. The only version I've reviewed is this one moving forward here. If there's some concerns, I think that we can work with Sasha, who I guess drafted up the original one, to sort of see where we're at. If the idea is to bring this to the next meeting instead and sort of delay it until it goes there. I'm not sure what, again, I haven't seen the first version. I don't know what'll come out of it. It would seem to be based on what Sasha said, that it's not substantive enough to not talk about it, but I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I haven't had time to sit down with this revised copy and my written copy and word for word.
Yeah. Okay. But if that matters, and it sounds like it does, then we can bring it back to the next meeting. It just delays the process, that's all.
So that makes sense to me because we have to get everybody on the same page and agreement here at this table before we send it to council, make this document public, totally public, even though it is public. So we got Jim and then Ken.
After reading the report and the advice from staff, I'd like to share, offer some of the following. Well, my first impression was the staff seems to be taking some of the data further down the road. No addressing any. First one I want to go about is the condition of safety letters. Now, this is something that cannot be taken lightly at any level. Here, 1 second, please. Okay, sure. Are we getting into discussing the report now, or are we going to that next meeting?
Thought we weren't getting into it.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking for clarification.
Well, the comment was that we can get into some of the blue filer points that are of concern, and then we can get to work with staff there.
And I definitely want, I will leave the
But if you don't want to do that tonight, we can wait till it comes back in November.
What's the committee? On that? Discussion. Is there a committee decision on that, or do you need one? Motion from Terry said that, we were going to, I didn't kind of make a motion, but.
What's not about
Your
discussion?
your discussion, you could refresh to agree on what the discussion suggested. So my suggestion was that we should see a red line version of what was sent if it was changed and sent back to us. Which is different than working with Sasha. It's a red line version, so we know what changes were made. But I would actually be happy if Sasha comes back and says, yeah, this new version's okay, I'll vote yes on it. I also suggested if we wanted to, I didn't see any problem with talking about, Cliff Cam's here, talking to Cam about his responses. And that's the way but I'm okay with delaying it to next month too. It doesn't hurt anything.
I'm kind of going along with that line of thought of delaying this till then, because it's good. To be fair to Cam, he's just gotten back. He wasn't aware of any legal comment prior to review. So to be fair to him and fair to staff and fair to Sasha, maybe another month on this and get a little further work done before we get into the next.
What works for you, Sasha?
I wouldn't mind time to review more. Formulate some comments on some of the blue sections.
On some issues.
You want to talk about letters? We've been talking about letters for a long time. So, yeah, so go right ahead.
Okay. I've attended several workshops, et cetera, from the Municipal Insurance Association and bonus liability and due diligence of owning our. The committee has made staff aware of the condition of the letters. Now, if the Municipal Insurance Association gets wind of that, they're going to look upon the city very unfavorably. It needs to be addressed on an ongoing basis. I suggest a weekly, probably a weekly physical inspection and a monthly written inspection recorded. Okay, that the ladders are in good condition.
If they're not in good condition, maintenance needs to address that ASAP. Now, if there's a drowning or an accident and owners can't get out of the water, the taxpayer is ultimately responsible and is going to be hit with a lawsuit. So we need staff to cover the taxpayer's ass. That can't be more. But this is not something I'm moving to drop.
So just to make you aware, Sundance, Jeff used to run our harbors. He was the workman for many years back in the day.
Okay.
Ladders are installed.
Are you talking about page 8 of the agenda where it says the safety ladders in our harbor are in various states of disrepair? Is that what you're talking about? And then Cam's process, or Cam's comments that they're being triaged and replaced?
That report came out in June, it's now October. This is something that's continually being kicked down the road.
But it doesn't say it's being kicked down the road. It says they're being triaged and replaced.
May I have a comment?
Go right ahead, Jeff.
So we replaced 6 in the North Harbor so far. We're actually considering the style of ladder that we're gonna replace with, because I had some information passed on to me by someone, it was secondhand information. Their comment was, you know, those ladders, the style that you have in the North Harbor, that, you know, fold down. They're not great when you're actually in the water, struggling to get out. So we're trying to give proper thought to which style of ladder we should be putting. So that has, you know, we were all set to order a whole bunch of that style. We started replacing with them. Basically, we're getting quotes ready to go. Deposit for just a little beat here. Make sure we are putting the appropriate one in. My intention is absolutely to get ladders in ASAP, to get them replaced. And then, yes, absolutely on the inspection cycle. We've already changed our inspection cycle or our wording within our inspections. So, yeah, you know, ladders are out of the water. Any great conditions.
So I record in file.
Absolutely. Well, it's actually on our safety software. So I totally appreciate what you're saying. Take it seriously. So no intention to just kick it down the road.
Same style ladders are used as sub harbor treatment.
Yeah, and then but small craft harbors, Western, they have a different style. Right, the ones that are just in the water and they stay there. So right now we just want to find something that's gonna hold up well, but then more importantly, function well.
Yeah.
I'd rather replace them frequently and have them fixed and in the water than have them not utilized.
Okay, well, that's good to hear that we've got some movement on those items, that are, liability concerning.
Okay, I'm up here.
Okay, Jim? Yeah, go right ahead.
I'd also like to add that I'm very, very familiar with the head lease between, the Jimmy Paul River, acting as the harbor authority and the government, small craft harbors. They have a maintenance agreement that I have in front of me. A 21-page document I due diligence today. Finding the issues that are the harbor authority no longer and those small craft harbors responsibility. I'm not calling out your report, Cam, a lot of the stuff that you felt was small craft harbor responsibility, in fact, the city's responsibility. So I really like to stress that staff gets hold of the things agreement, reads it, understands it, and works with it, because a lot of this stuff that's on here, trust me, is the harbor authority's responsibility. I want to inspect it, but you prepare it before the paint handrail, set, all that kind of stuff falls under the working agreement. And there should be a lease agreement hanging on a hook down the harbor. I'm sure there's electronic version on all senior management's computers.
Okay, just, what do you have in your hand and bring me up to speed on what it is?
Okay, so this is Schedule C of the operations and maintenance repairs that is within the head lease agreement between the city.
And that is, did it come from the North Harbor Authority?
No, this came from Small Craft Harbors early this afternoon.
Oh.
And it's current, this is an agreement that was signed off by the David Formosa back in 2018.
So that stipulates who's responsible for what?
For the maintenance and repairs, yeah. And typically, to make it long version short, the city is responsible for the day-to-day operations, the minor maintenance. Feds are responsible for the major projects. And anything that the city considers to be a major project, I mean, there's some give and take, some negotiation to take place. But it's right here in black and white. So we encourage everybody involved to read and study the stuff.
You have that document, right, Jack?
I have seen it.
So-
I'll review that.
So that's my question I was gonna ask, if I may, and that is, could you give us an update on, we know that North Harbor Authority is coming to town to take a good look at our harbor for upgrades. Where is that process?
It's, for the Westview Harbor.
Yes,
Small
yeah,
craft.
the Westview.
So Small Craft Harvest was here. Yeah, it was actually 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I just asked if you were involved. So we haven't seen anything formal from them yet.
They have done their
We're gonna-
inspection.
Yeah, and that's sort of more the structural.
Okay, excellent. So that's good to know.
Did anybody want to put me through this for, have a quick look?
Jim, you want to hand that in?
Yeah, just wanted to, just have circulated around most of you. I want to keep that copy of it.
Rod, go ahead.
That was my question. Thank you. I'm good. I just wanted to get the name of it.
Okay.
Oh, it's the head lease agreement, in the city and.
Okay, so without getting into too much more on the weeds and specific items, is everybody fine to have this document come back revised with the changes that were made in the?
I just want to say for the record, I guess that, I think Terry assumed that we had the original report here in front of us. I certainly assumed that. There's no indication that this is not the version that we approved in the fall, and I'm disappointed that that wasn't brought to our attention. Right on the report.
I need to go over it.
Yeah, well, the fact that it happened, so I'm talking about. Changes were affected.
Yesterday, the media review folks followed along on page 13 and 18 of tonight's agenda. Rescue Harbor efficiencies and fund remediation is the item that I'm referring to.
13, page 13?
Page 13, near the bottom, Rescue Harbor efficiencies and remediation.
Noted.
Did you use that in the minutes?
Are you going to talk about it right now, or that's what you were just?
You know, I just want to point out to the committee that, I'm referring to.
Okay, so not hearing any further comments. Do we need a motion to that effect to have this process?
I think it'd be best to do that, yeah.
Okay. So, we're in it.
Move that we have the, recommendation brought back to us with red line and back changes from the original.
Moved and seconded by Jesse. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you very much. You got that, Caitlin?
Yeah.
Unfinished business satisfaction survey for local harbor users 6.1. Wanted to, obviously have this added to the agenda. Who, submitted this? Jim, do you want to start this?
I'll get the ball rolling.
Sure.
The satisfaction survey is in the front and center. Several meetings since this committee was formed. When we broke for the summer, I felt that the complete survey was in the hands of management staff for the distribution and reflection of the survey. Reflection of the data, I'm sorry. Instead, unionized staff down at the harbor appears to have distributed the survey and appears to be involved in the collection of the data. So some of the comments that I received, and I received many emails, phone calls, visits, people want to know, okay, first of all, the link wouldn't work for one voter, so they went to the administration desk at the hall. Staff didn't know anything about it. We directed them to the harbor staff on duty, handed them a survey with the top line of one question scratched out. Out in pen. Okay, there's no deadline for submissions on the original document that went out.
Maybe phone making it noise, or is that just?
Another question was, why are staff of the harbor involved in the survey when it is the operation that's performance is being evaluated? The other one, is the harbor office the default location for drop off? We went through that during the other survey, when paper copies were dropped off at the office. And I don't know, I can't speak for everybody in the committee, but I'm not real about that. Some voters are reluctant to submit their survey for personal reasons, and you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out what that personal reason. Are we certain that the majority of the clients have been sent a copy? We don't really know the percentage that have their email address attached to their contract. So are we missing a percentage of the voters that should have maybe got a mail out? That would have been an easy solution for everybody. Send them a mail.
Just on that, I've got to ask a clarifying question. Ken. When we were discussing this in July, prior to this being sent out, we were under the impression that staff knew that we didn't want our harbor staff involved in the mail out, and we were going to use the Survey Monkey or whatever to that effect. We were going to use the emails or whatever other information we had on their application when they signed up to pay their bills to get that out. Now, on some of that documentation, Cam, isn't every boat owner required to hand in an email address?
I don't think everyone has an email, no, that's kind of voluntary, and then there's some people say, hey, don't contact me, via email, I don't want that, so I mean, that's kind of a common practice. I will say, with this survey, I've had, again, very little involvement, unfortunately, because I am just recently back. So I can't speak much to how it's gone out, how it's been collected. I haven't even seen any results myself.
So just a comment, when that came out fairly quickly after our last meeting, mid-July, something like that.
Oh, September 12th.
Was it that late?
There was circulated by in the email.
So as soon as I got it, I filled mine out and I shipped it off to wherever that survey was
I
going.
believe it was live long before that, though, I think.
No, I knew I was there, I was kind of.
Well, no, absolutely, but I'm just saying, I think it was, and I think it might have been on the website, stuff like that,
Yeah,
on
and
the city website.
my thought is, or my background is, I'm also new to the committee, it's my first time here, but, so it wasn't that last one, but we could certainly find out when it was. I thought it was on the website and then for quite a while, and then,
The cities, with the
we
city.
can find the bookends and, when it was posted.
And it's not on the website anymore, it's off, from what I understand, all right?
The survey, the Survey Monkey survey, whatever, that was attached to the email that Jen sent out September 12th is no longer out. No.
I have a little bit of information, not very much, but the survey closed on Monday. The results are being processed. We have these preliminary results, I'll call them, but we weren't able to get the comments ready to go. So the full result will be coming at the next meeting. So you can take this if you want, or you can wait till next meeting.
Through the chair, do you know the percentage of voters and contract holders that
31 people responded.
how many?
31.
31. That's via the electronic survey.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not
You know-
sure about paper copies.
Right. So really, out of the total number of Harbour users, what percentage are on the city's email list? Do you know that?
I do not know that.
That's kind of credit. There was pick it up on your point if you don't mind, Jim. There was no effort made to inform people not on the email list that this survey was even taking place. There's a Facebook group of Harbour users that Jen has posted to in the past. She didn't post anything there, I did myself, 10 days or so ago. But no signs up on Harbour gates. It wouldn't have been a big expense to send hard copies to the addresses of people not, on the email list. So it's. Yeah. Not very complete work, and there are other things.
Cam and then Jim.
I just, as far as surveys, in my mind, it's not a bad thing to have something available all the time for people to be able to make comments. That way, if something comes up, people are usually willing to fill out a survey if they're kicked about something, in my experience. Not a lot of people, we get the odd one, but it's complimentary, is that, not a lot of that. Usually some people are having negative experience, whatever. But having something, available, a way of people to contact, and it's anonymous and it's all that stuff. And yes, making it more, advertised that it's available. That kind of makes sense to me, rather than just, hey, there's a defined time, you gotta get your survey in by. That's just my 2 bits. I would welcome that.
That's a good comment.
I appreciate that, Gavin, and, what this exercise was to determine where we're at now. To have it can go on infinitively, fine, that's great, but we were looking to gather, stockpile information. We got about 425 by my estimation, contracts in the North and South Harbor. The response is kind of weak and we don't really know why. So, but in closing, because I want to give everybody else a turn, I think we did a very good job at the committee level to prepare this project. And I'm not that happy with the way senior management handled it. A lot moved up.
Yeah.
We gotta be careful with the language we use at these meetings. These are, well, that, if you know, then you gotta tone it down. Because you don't wanna talk about senior management bungling things and stuff. 31 out of 400 is not bad. Maybe we should have had, the only way you get people to get into surveys actually is to give them a prize. Was there a prize? Where was the $100 gift card that's randomly drawn? So there's ways to make these better. I've done a million surveys. It's not bad, actually. I wouldn't say it's bungled. Could be a bit better, but let's just be respectful in these meetings, okay?
Well, I can withdraw that comment, but I'm still not happy.
I was just gonna make a comment that I get the dissatisfaction with how it went out, how it's been handled. My comment is gonna be very much like what Sundance has said. Surveys don't often get, I know BC Transit did a bunch of survey work for, we got a class. Service review that they're doing, and the number of responses compared to the number of users was, in my mind, astonishingly low, and they were quite happy with it. So I get it, 30 something out of 400. Yeah, it doesn't sound great, but.
And I've experienced with surveys too, and it's really hard to get. You're just not going to get the kind of response you're expecting, Jim. It just doesn't happen any place I've ever been in terms of surveys.
Over there. Okay. I also have some background in opinion surveys, et cetera. And I think talking about the various target groups we're talking about, we're talking apples and oranges, harbor users who spend thousands of dollars a year. Keep your boats in the harbor and they worry about their safety and security, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's quite different than asking the general public what they think of the transit system. I also think there are ways to improve the response. One is when you send out the questionnaire, give them a deadline. Otherwise, they say, yeah, I'll get back to this, and maybe we not get back to it, but giving them a deadline is one. Assuring confidentiality is two. I think assuring, promising to send them a copy of the results is three. So, indicating that this is going to help them make positive change in the way our harbors are managed, et cetera. It could have been done much better, and I think there were few oversights, critical oversights actually, in how it was conducted. The people, largely, people whose work is being evaluated should not be conducting the evaluation by having the questionnaire, email sent out by who it was sent out. It kind of suggests that our staff are involved in conducting the survey. I'm saying it's suggests, I'm not saying it's necessarily.
I have to admit, I have a strong distaste for that whole assertion, insinuation that we're potentially biasing things. I don't believe that's happening. I don't believe it. And that's my opinion, and I am very protective of my staff. So I just don't like that.
What I said though is the
It's come forward as well at other meetings, previous meetings, and it was actually made more strongly. That really bothered me. And to me, I take huge exception. I think we're pretty professional. I'm just gonna leave it there.
Yeah, no, and I didn't say that staff are distorting the results or deliberately trying to distort the results. I said there were a lot of things that could have made the survey more effective that weren't done. And optically, it should not have been sent out, but the opposite was sent out by. Whether or not there's any bias involved, it just shouldn't have happened.
I would disagree. That's not.
Yeah, I think there's some valid points in what you said there, and we'll take it into consideration. I mean, is this the first survey that's ever been done for the harbor? It's the second, so we've done this in the past, yeah, and so can we go back to the previous one? Did we get anything useful out of that? Was there a good uptake on that?
Similar mistakes we made.
It was more targeted.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's transient.
This is a different survey.
It's a different survey there, yeah.
It was targeting the transients, the visitors for the summer. This one targeted the old port vessels.
And so my sense on this is that lessons learned, those people that are home port vessels aren't necessarily going anywhere, right? So if we didn't get what we wanted out of this one, once we've had a chance to look at it, it's something that could potentially be done better at a later date. If we're right, am I wrong?
Rob?
The collection of the data on this survey was a third party, to my understanding.
Survey monkey, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
That's on the.
Can we get clarification on that? How was that data processed?
It was, through Microsoft.
Yeah.
So it was online and, the administration staff received the result.
So the survey monkey results, whatever, were processed by staff at City Hall.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Which is how it works, right? I mean, they're third party things that collect the data. Someone still actually has to do the processing of it.
Paper copies.
The information that was collected is confidential from Harbour staff. Right?
Oh, there's no names attached to it. Oh, that's not.
They're not involved in collection or results. So that's good to know. Now, my suggestion would be, let's maybe take a second run, because I like Cam's idea of having this online that people can access at any time. Because the numbers really, when you've got 500 votes or users, and you only get 31 responses, that's not a great survey in my estimation.
you're gonna get 10%.
So it really depends what you're trying to do with the survey. If you're giving a survey to find, what Cam said, primarily dissatisfaction, you're providing an avenue so people can communicate to the city about it. If you're trying to do a survey, which is, you want to know exactly what percentage of people are over 6 foot tall that elect votes, then you have to do a random sample and you've got to approach it a whole different way. What we're trying to do is get a satisfaction survey. What do our users think about the harbor? Putting that out there tells you, because you're going to get disproportionately people that are unhappy. That's what fills out surveys. Particularly when they're going back to the users, the operations people, to tell them, I'm tired of this board being broken. Can you fix it? It gives them.
That wasn't the experience on the transient survey, though. The majority of responses were
One
positive.
at a time.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Which is
go.
why we didn't get a lot of response to that either.
Well, but-
And Rod, go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. Just a suggestion, to understand we have results coming in from this one, so I think the next meeting, if we could review those, I think that would be a suggestion to review those, and then if we wanted to do another survey, we start fresh in 26, and target whatever the target's going to be, if it's going to be same thing again, or if it's going to be the transient or a combo or just something different than 26, but review these things.
For suggestion. When the mail out goes for a contract renewal for the North Part, would that be a leaflet that seems to be in the mail out?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion, yeah. Some good-
Take postage and that.
The captive audience there too.
Yes, Cam.
Just to respond to Cam's suggestion that the survey be left out, but I don't think it's appropriate for this type of survey. I do think though, if you want to open up a channel for people in the harbor who want to send a message to city management, that's a good idea.
And like, I totally get what you're saying about taking the snapshot for, especially for for this, committee, that totally makes sense to me. But yes, I'm automatically going to the, hey, just an avenue, because the reality is, I don't get a lot of calls from people personally. I don't get a lot of emails with, I really don't, the odd one. So I'm sure there's people out there who just aren't taking the time, so maybe it's a way of making it easier for them.
Yeah.
Right, so I totally get that.
And just to finish my comment, in that the Survey Monkey survey is now closed, does that mean the Harbour office is no longer handing out hard copies?
I
Do we know?
do not know that answer.
Okay. I know at least one person was going to be going down to get a hard copy. Hadn't made it yet. And I also want to say that as somebody who spends a lot of time in the docks and a lot of time, partially as, because of my involvement on this committee, a lot of time talking to other people in the harbor. Complaints are endless. Now that's kind of human nature, and some of them I think are frivolous or ridiculous expectations, but a lot of them are legit and reasonable, and makes me wonder why, given the opportunity to let city know, more people wouldn't be taking advantage of it. So I do wonder why we only got 30 responses.
So when you look at 31 responses, there's two things that come to my mind. One is we don't have a large portfolio of emails to get that Survey Monkey out to. That could be one cause. Or a lot of owners are satisfied with what they've got in our harbor. And they're not taking the time to fill out a survey.
There's also apathy, let's face it, people are busy, and I'm not gonna judge the fact that people aren't filling out every survey they get sent to them. Sometimes it's just easy not to do it and take right to your neighbor, right? I get that as well. So I'm not blind to the idea that there are dissatisfied people out there who maybe aren't communicating.
Okay, so we'll get the results coming forward the next meeting and can have a good chance to look them over before we discuss.
One other thing I want to bring your attention to. Questionnaire that this committee approved back in June, was the June meeting. Question 9 read, to your knowledge, are docks monitored and patrolled on a regular basis? That's the questionnaire that we approved. That's the questionnaire that was supposed to be put out on Survey Monkey. Question that went on Survey Monkey is, how satisfied are you with regular patrolling and monitoring of docks? I don't think it's necessary to explain the difference in that, but that is deliberate manipulation of the question. And I'd actually really like to know how it happened, where it happened.
So what's the first one again? Sorry, what was the one?
To your knowledge, are docks monitored and patrolled on a regular basis?
Okay, and then the other one is?
How satisfied are you with regular patrolling and monitoring of docks? No, it's not like that. It's not like that.
You're gonna get the same point if people are unhappy.
I mean, what I was.
I just think it's a better question, actually.
So what I was gonna say is that sometimes these tools are pretty blunt. The Survey Monkey tool, in terms of like, once you pick a format, seriously, I don't know if you ever use them, but once you pick a format, there's only like, you can't change each question to be like a yes, no, or a different sort of version. I'm not too sure if that's the case with this or not, but.
Yes, I think it'll answer your question.
Okay.
Or take a look at the complete survey, though.
Is it all a mix of questions that are all like that?
There's a whole bunch of them out of format of exactly like that.
But is there yet, no, oh yeah, okay.
And the survey isn't up anywhere, but I have screen captures of it. Yeah, that would be helpful.
And it's a tool for this committee to utilize as part of the overall optics of what goes on. I mean, maybe there's lots of weight on the survey, maybe there's not, but it's, and I hear what you're saying, that if the question has changed slightly, but at the end of the day, what was the point of the survey? Can I ask that?
Go ahead.
It's unfortunate Fraser's not here today, because Fraser was the person who began the whole survey.
It's Jeff.
Was it?
Yeah, it's Jeff.
It was Fraser initially, who, for the transient one, who wanted this group to be able to start to get metrics on what the transient owners were doing, so that we could plan accordingly.
Okay.
You had a lot of good.
It was metrics though, we were looking for.
We're looking for, and just to try and understand how the transient group, what they felt needed changes, how they felt about the situation of the harbor, so that we could gauge.
Got it.
So it's unfortunate that Bracy's not here, and it'll be good if he was here for the next one, because I'm sure he's got some good things to say about this.
Find areas that need attention.
And I think with that question that Ken is outlining, in one question they ask, are you aware of patrols going on in the dock?
Mhm.
And then the question that was asked, it's like, how satisfied are you with the patrols that are going on the dock?
Yeah.
It changes.
Implying that they're happening and are you happy with them versus do you know if they are? Yeah, I see this, man. Again, I wasn't too sure if it was just something with the formatting on there. At the end of this, we've got this group. This is my first meeting. You guys all seem very knowledgeable. You know what's going on. I've read the report that was put together with all this sort of stuff. This is just another thing that's adding to conversation, right? I mean, it's just part of the thing. So I don't want to say don't get overly hung up on it, but it's just part of the inputs to this thing, which is how do we improve the harbor and how do these recommendations go to council and how does this committee know that stuff is actually being done, right? So.
Can I add there's an overarching comment, I suppose, on where we're at here.
Yeah.
We've been working at this now this is our, 11th meeting, maybe 12th meeting? And that's over a period of probably close to a couple of years now. A lot of us put in a lot of time outside of the actual meetings.
Yeah.
And I do a lot. And we bring suggestions to this committee, trying to improve harbor operations, trying to improve the fiscal circumstance, finding ways of generating more money in the harbor without pricing local voters out of the harbor, stuff like that. And maybe just to backtrack a bit, when this committee was first decided, or when council first decided to appoint an advisory committee, it was following several weeks of pretty raucous council meetings. So they were looking at proposed rate increases down in 2022, and the council chambers were full to overflowing.
Yeah.
Very angry, mostly senior voters who were saying, I can't afford these. I'll have to sell my boat. You're gonna have 40 boats for sale all at once in Powell River.
Yeah.
And so the people who were making those sorts of comments asked that there be a committee established to provide advice, in part to find ways of, improving results, finding things that work for the city and for our users, win-wins rather than win-losses.
Yeah.
And I think all of us came into this expecting a pretty collaborative relationship with all city staff to try to make improvements, put proposed improvements before council with fair and objective and thorough, analysis reports by staff, accompanying those proposals and get a decision from council. That's not what's happening. It's the perception of the committee. You can challenge this if you like to. The perception of this committee, most of us anyway, I can't speak for all of us, I speak for a majority of us, feel that we get stonewalled, we get manipulated, we get various other things to impede any results coming out of our work. That's why if you're sensing a lot of frustration in this room, there's a hell of a lot of frustration in this room.
Yeah.
That for a long time.
I just
No,
want
that's-
I
thanks
just want
for
to say a
that.
couple things.
Sure, yeah.
Now, Ken's got a good point. I know how my committee's feeling, and there is a lot of frustration here at this table for a number of reasons. But I had a phone call from another long-term harbor user tonight that owns prawn boats and has them down in our harbors. And his comment to me was, and he applied to be on the committee, but he didn't make the grade at that point in time. But his comment was, we're all concerned about our harbors. We want the best results for our harbors. And we just want to work with you to make them better on a number of fronts. That's where this group is coming from. And I just wanted to express that to staff. They're not here to point fingers and label anybody. They're here to try to make things better for themselves and for the community.
What I'll say, I appreciate the context. Again, this is the first one that having something where a user advisory goes directly to council is weird from a governance perspective. And there's no for me, I'm not surprised there's conflict. Because you're having this group kind of, in theory, kind of go up above and tell council to tell staff what to do. What would be, I'm just letting you know from an outside point of view, it's strange to have it. Typically, these sorts of groups would make recommendations to staff to bring to council, and that would, I think, make it more of a teamwork play on it, as opposed to it being something where this group in theory could make all sorts of recommendations and staff might not agree with it, but if they go right to council and then we're having to play a rule down below, and be like, well, actually, no, or that doesn't make sense. So what we're trying to do here, and what Cam was trying to do, is to work with this group and go, hey, yeah, I know there's a lot of overlap and we're agreeing on things. And again, coming in at this point and seeing that there's a lot of overlap bodes well for getting stuff done, right? But I can't speak to the past on it, but it seems like there's not a lot of things where everyone's opposed to what this group has brought up. To me, this is a bit of a list of things that we just have to figure out how to operationalize, and can we afford to do it? And it doesn't make sense. And if the ones that don't make sense to us, we'll say they don't make sense.
So I was going to, excellent comment, because it leads into my last other comment. Ken, you were away when Jamie was filling in for you guys here. And Jamie came up with a great suggestion, and the committee heard it, and then everybody's nodding their head. And that is, instead of us making motions at this table and have them float them through to council that has no idea what we're talking about at this table,
Yeah.
and getting nowhere, it would be far better, as he does at this complex with the user groups. He has a user group meeting
Yeah.
to deal with these type of issues. And out of that, he provides opportunities for staff to work on those various issues.
Okay.
That would be far more practical in my view. Yeah.
I'm just gonna make a comment that before this committee was struck, I mean, yeah, I would meet fairly regularly, Mr. Selcott and some of the folks here, not all, interested Harbour folks. And we would be probably quarterly, but it really worked out to. That would meet, and I would get back. And come up with responses, but it was just lots of ideas coming out, lots of responses. I felt that worked okay. So it just kind of supports what you're saying, but I mean, this is the experience that I had, and it seemed to work. I mean, Carrie, you're involved.
Yeah, one of the challenges, how do I go here? We have some axes that are being ground in the committee. We think that some of us think that the finance is being done wrong, and we're going to dig into the operational details and correct it. Some of us think that the operations on the dock are wrong, and we want to get a survey that points that out. I think as a committee, we're too much concerned with the operational questions of the harbor, not enough concerned with the issues that were Sasha brought forward here. We talked about safety issues, things that we experience in running the harbor. We're not the city staff. We don't run the harbor. We don't set schedules on how they do safety stuff. That's not what we do. We tell them, here's what we experience in the harbor, and here's how it could be made better. And if we spent our time doing that, as opposed to looking at digging into the finances, trying to prove that the piers are not being monitored sufficiently. We know that's one of the things that are going on in the survey. We're trying to prove that. If we stop grinding those axes and simply communicate how we think the harbor could be made better, we'd be more useful. Instead of trying to tell the city how they should do their accounting and trying to make proof about how it's being mismanaged. We should be applying our
Health finances 3 times. I know that you disagree with this. I know you spoke in favor of the rate increases that were first proposed in 2022 that would have increased some people's mortgage by over 100% over a couple of years. Well, then the people who told me you had, I guess, on the scope. That must be it.
Well, thank you anyway for telling me how I feel.
Well, and you've continuously downplayed my inquiries into finances. You choose not to try to understand what I'm actually trying to ascertain. That's your axe to grind. Anyway, looking into finances is a very legitimate pursuit for this committee. If I don't do it on the committee, I'll do it outside the committee. I don't care.
Please.
If it's a waste of your time, Ken, go home. Or,
Okay,
geez, if it's a waste of your time, go home.
just be nice, yeah.
That was nice. How many times has he told me to stop with this time?
We don't have to go down this road. Jim,
Anyway,
In response to Terry's suggestion about axe to grind, I have, requested meetings with Cam in the past. I've requested meetings with Tor and with Councillor Pong and ignored it and denied it. So I have made attempts. I have reached out. I have 20 years experience on the job. And I wanted to share that experience, because I get people telling me, they don't respond to you. They complain to me.
Jim, that's one of the problems of having somebody that used to do the job on the advisory committee, because you're looking at, you know how you did it, you did a good job. I was there when you're running it. But you got new people there now, and you don't run it anymore.
I also know the job description, you know, I know what it says.
You know,
I think lots going on here, but I think at the end of the day, honestly, I like, when I go back to what was the document that came up, noting that it might have been a little bit different when it was first done, there's good stuff in it, right? And so I think the community should be proud that we've got something that addresses issues that need to be done. And this is a good step. The question is that what happens next, right? Once this is like kind of finalized and it's in a form and it goes to council, it's gonna come to council with a staff report that says, you know, we've talked about it, we've gone through it, some of these things we can do, some of the things we can't do. That's my expectation anyway, right? But I don't know. I mean, when I look at the end here, it's like there are some recommendations at the end of the agenda that went in there. Had this committee got into like such specific items that it's like that council created policy regarding the pump out station, stating 40 lineal feet at the end of dock one is really like, these motions are coming from this committee that are going?
That motion would already.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get. Yeah, and so my question is that when this committee was doing where they're talking with staff about whether that makes sense or not, getting staff buy-in, I'm just curious, because again, having these go right to council with the staff, like, I don't know, can anyone speak to it? Like how the process of getting it looked like?
we operated without staff here for a long time.
Okay.
Knowledgeable, and that was unfortunate.
Cause it just feels very like kind of micro detail to go to council when is that the best use of this group? And maybe it is, but it almost feels like it would have more opportunity for success getting this to staff and then getting some sense of whether or not it's achievable and then going to council and factoring in the budgets, right? Yeah.
So does that mean then that those people with an interest on operations would meet with the operations staff? Those people with an interest in finances would meet with finance staff?
No, this is still the venue of it. I'm just talking about like the flow to go to council, and ideally, I mean, this is a committee and operations people are here and finance people are here.
Sorry, the main, so you mean that like having some discussion with the relevant staff before and with the council?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's something this committee's been asking for, actually.
Okay. It just feels like there'd be more chance of actually having success if things were discussed and they went forward with both parties on the same page, as opposed to just randomly going up and going to council and then dying all the way, right?
Yeah, I think just to clarify, where we ran into issues Sundance, the first time when the committee actually proposed, I think it was 3 motions to go to council.
Yeah.
They went to staff and they were somehow altered a little bit. Staff, and then when they appeared on the council table, we're guessing about, okay, who changed our motions? And there was just, you know, a blind look on council's face because they had no idea what the issues we were even addressing.
And this is those ones, this is the first 3 here, the
Yeah.
harbor signage,
Yeah.
low budget enhancements and vending areas.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, the details were not clearly defined. Let's put it
The
that way.
others on there, 6, 7, 8 months after As to the recommendation, they still haven't got.
You know, again, from an outside, I'm not outsider, but you know, that council directs staff to revise the waitlist policy in the bylaw by specifying process for filling the waitlist, provide more lenient terms. That if I'm staff, it's like this committee's going up and telling my boss to tell me what to do when what really should be happening, maybe it did, is the conversation about wait times and the best way the process is, and then a recommendation that, you know, this committee can't direct staff, but that there get some sort of feedback on what the best process is before moving and telling council to direct staff to do. I don't know.
No, I agree, or at least sounds good to me.
Yeah, and agreeing at this table amongst this committee is one thing, but getting staff involved to agree before it goes anywhere, that's the key.
Or not agree, right? At least talk about, or at least talk about it, right? Like, cause there's gonna be things that are like, well, that's not a good idea, or we can't do that, or it'll cost too much money or whatever, but. I mean, there should be some value out of this.
How would you see it working?
What's it?
How would you see it working?
That's changed too differently, but it's just, we just gotta make sure that before stuff comes from the committee and makes its way up to council, that it's had a chance for a conversation so that things don't just go up there to direct staff to do something, that there has to be enough of a conversation to even get it there. And I guess when I think about all these recommendations that are in the report, if that all went forward at once, like, is it a master planning process that we need to do that for the harbor that gets into it and
Create a role and make maintenance plan.
or yeah, like again, that's getting kind of operationally, but like what is the something that can do it all? I don't know. Again, I'm just trying to understand how to get some value out of it when there's just a huge list, and if this was to go to council, what's council gonna do, right? They're gonna struggle to try and figure out what to do. They'll ask staff what to do. So
That, the rationale in my mind for that document and that process is for staff to deal with and to work with, not for it to go to council and have them raise their.
Yeah.
Deny.
okay,
I think it was also intended as an FYI council. That should be said.
So Rob, you've had your hand up for a while.
Yeah, just through the chair, I 100% agree with you. We were set up though as an advisory committee to council.
Yeah.
That's how we were always set up. Now, whether that has to change in order for us to work more directly with staff, to say, we're gonna work with staff to try and get, changes or bring stuff to their attention before maybe have to go to council, or maybe staff is gonna have to take to council. I think that's a better way of making progress happen.
Yeah.
Because what we felt that we've been trying to make slight changes or things, it's not happening.
yeah,
It's throwing a rock against the wall, it's not going anywhere.
yeah,
Another reason that I feel this whole thing was set up is there was a big group within the harbors that felt the harbors were not being managed properly. 100% that the management staff was not doing their job to the best of their ability
Yeah.
and doing it properly at all.
Yeah.
That's one of the elephants in the room that nobody wants to address.
yeah,
But that is why I feel, and a good portion of the people that spoke about it originally before this group was even set up, that the management was not being done to the best of their ability, and there was no consequences for anything that transpired.
mhm,
None, zero.
Yeah.
And I think that's why this committee was struck.
yeah.
It was one of the major contributing factors to why this committee was struck.
Right.
That's one of the elephants in the room.
Okay, yeah, no, that's helpful, thank you.
Yeah, that's one of the other one is the financial one that keeps getting hammered down, because there's some concern that they're gonna be priced out of the harbor.
Yeah.
And, we have to make it affordable for locals, and one of the aspects that council voted on when the races were brought in 3 years ago or 2 years ago was, we were gonna charge more for out-of-town boaters, so that we could address our long wait list.
Yeah.
And it came back from staff that, oh, well, we can't treat them any different than locals. I don't understand why that came back that way, but it would be nice to get another answer on that. There's a lot of issues like that on the financial front that we're dealing with too.
Yeah.
To make our harbors viable long term.
one of the reasons that I'm so heavily focused on finances. And to find new ways of generating money out of the harbor that is not getting touched locals on.
Yeah,
Everybody knows, Paul Rivers, you back in trades.
yeah,
It's gonna be a lot of pressure
yeah, yeah,
to pick all the low hanging fruit and then some.
yeah.
You know, so let's find ways to make this work for everybody. That's not the price local voters out of their own harbor.
Yeah, and Jim, to your point, you're right. This is an advisory committee to council. So I mean, even if the report in some iteration went to council with the review, the council received the report and asked staff to provide feedback on their priorities. So I think there's a method to do it even within the process that's in place here. But just the key for me is that if we're gonna get stuff done, it has to be some sort of working together as opposed to, I know from a staff perspective, whenever I feel like someone goes right, or I'm not saying this is the case, but goes around or has the ability to go around and just get someone to tell me what to do as opposed to having the conversation, it makes it harder to buy in. That's all. And again, I'm not saying that's what happened, but just the terms of reference are not ideal.
Would we still be a committee of council? Or should they dissolve the committee of council and just appoint an advisory committee?
Yeah, I don't know. Our corporate officers been on this one, so Stephen, if could you maybe ask your question?
I'm wondering if you take an approach more along the lines of what Sundance mentioned, that I think is getting a lot of buy-in here. Would we still be a committee of council? I mean, that's very obvious. We did.
Well, yeah, again, I wasn't around when any of this, the committee was organized. I have found the governance and the terms of reference somewhat problematic for the reasons that have been raised today. And to find a way to reinvent the committee to make you like to sort of achieve those objectives in a different way, I think would be good. And I'd certainly be supportive of doing that. Because yeah, my experience on the committees I've been on is you spend a lot of time on minutia, and I think lose the forest for the trees sometimes, and the sort of that bigger picture that's trying to be achieved gets lost.
And so Stephen, in terms of that then, so this is an advisory committee directly to council. What sort of like format could be used so that is it still an advisory committee format that would go to council, or what other options are there?
Yeah, well, you could like I've seen more technical committees interact more with staff as opposed to council directly. You could there's different ways to present. Usually an advisory committee is part of some existing structure, like they might comment on a development application or something like that goes to council, and they're one of the groups that provide input into that council considers when making a final decision. That's not the case for this committee. You're really more of a technical advisory committee, almost to staff more so than council. But we could come up with different options and sort of see what works based on the intent of the committee when it was struck, and what's a practical way to get your collective knowledge to advance the issues that are being raised. I don't necessarily have, this is the best way to do it off the top of my head, but it's something that we could certainly look at, and I'd speak with Sundance on different options that we could that we'd have to bring forward.
Option to bring forward to this committee, or it's disbanded? Is that what?
Sorry, I didn't hear the question.
You talked about you and Sundance and maybe other city staff, whatever, getting together to discuss options to bring forward. Did you mean options to bring forward to the committee? The committee should have some input.
Well, again, I'm where any advisory committee of council fits in the governance structure is something that is ultimately up to council. As a staff person, you know, I would provide advice to the CAO, who would then decide how best to disseminate that information. I'm not trying to usurp the CAO's authority. And with that's the one employee model of governance that the city uses. And so I'm not presupposing any outcome. Nor am I excluding the committee from anything. I'm trying to be respectful of how the governance should be, as opposed to how it's necessarily been practiced in the past.
Yeah, and again, I'm not suggesting getting rid of the committee. I just think that with like focusing it to use the expertise that's here and to get stuff done, right? Like the idea behind it is to get stuff done and to pass the knowledge on and to have things brought to staff so that it makes its way to be operationalized. And I mean, what does that look like? Right now, it looks like this. I don't think that's a change right now, but the concept of maybe cleaning this up and making it a bit better. But I think even within its current construct, if there's an understanding that what we're trying to do is work to give advice to staff, which we may or may not agree with, and then operationalize it, I think that's, to me, that's the important thing. We want to get stuff done, right? And we want to be able to have a conversation on it before it gets done, and things need to be brought up.
So Jamie's suggestion was a users group, a user group model.
Yeah.
Which makes sense in my mind, because these are the people that use the harbor. They have the expertise. They're bringing their expertise to the table to share with staff, to work together, make our harbor better.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anybody sitting at this table because of the frustration level that we're experienced with having to deal with council and the rigmarole of it all, that there wouldn't probably be anybody that would be shy in saying we'll dissolve as an advisory to council committee and reorganize at our next meeting to go in a different direction. I might be wrong, but we're with you. We want to get things done.
And we could bring a couple models for this committee to sort of look at, whether it's because I wasn't at the meeting, the user group model, the technical advisory committee. To Stephen's point, we can bring a couple sort of options to a future meeting to chew on for the committee and then go from there.
Speaking for myself, I wouldn't support dissolving this committee until we know what it's going to be reflecting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
They'll be coming forward.
Yeah.
I don't think we can do that anyway, so we can bring it by council.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We can resign, but we can't dissolve the committee.
No, we can recommend to council that it's all.
Yeah.
So at this point too, about why we're here, I mean, a lot of us have been voting for decades, you know, we've visited many marinas up and down the coast as transients. I've stayed in 4 marinas as a year round.
Okay.
So I've seen the way things are done a lot of different places.
Yeah.
And for bringing that perspective, and I think everybody else can say not necessarily the same thing, but you know, similar body of experience in whatever it is that they're bringing and volunteering to the city. What a resource.
Yeah, I agree.
I'd like to see something constructive come out of it.
Totally.
Been a healthy discussion tonight. We're now getting somewhere. I got a better feeling coming out of where we're at right now. So we've talked about the survey. Something's going to come back to our next meeting in that regard.
Yes, so I just wanted to retract something that I said. I think I actually have the wrong survey results, so ignore what I said about 31 responses. And just,
I think that's a transient survey.
yeah, so I was hearing what some of the questions were, and I think I have the wrong. So you will get the results from the survey that was just done next meeting.
That makes it feel better too.
Yeah.
There we go.
I got one other quick thing, and I know one other thing, but the survey should be numbered, because I can go down there and get 10 copies, do it and have them in the office here. And paper copies, but there's no numbers, or just keep doing it. It should be numbered.
I heard people have better things to do at the time. Because if you're numbering them, then you get into problems or you're figuring problems, you know, everything identified.
Okay, so we've got the survey results coming to our next meeting, and we're on to new business 7.1. And someone brought forward the item traffic at North Harbour ramp and parking.
That was me. And it's just a
discussion and probably more for engineering and Cam, but this is something that I spoke to Frank and Andrew about years ago, when they were redesigning the harbor, it didn't really go anywhere. And it's a question for Rob too, how the fish cleaning station with Rotary, that's a great thing, and that's kind of still in the works and still.
That's dead in the water, I think.
Is it dead in the water? Okay, well, what I want to talk about, that's unfortunate, so what I want to talk about kind of has something to do with that too, so. I guess, even if it's not there, it's still the same problem, and I have the best picture I can that I got off Google Earth. But everybody's familiar with the harbor, and if you know, for me, I spend a ton of time down there, and I have my whole life, personally, I got two spots in North Harbor, and, launching and boats in and out, and professionally, got a marine business, and I'm clients boats in and out of the harbor on a daily basis from north and south. And it's just a schmozzle, and this summer was probably worse, so if everybody's familiar, you come down Courtney Street past the Prairie parking lot, and you come down the ramp, and there's a hairpin corner there, and then you can continue up by the waste plant, like to where Cooper or Northwest is the ADOT. And then the main harbor entrance, I call it, with the majority by the ramp, and then the other gate down the far end. So what happens is when we have ferries, people are coming off the ferry, and the first car or a car will all of a sudden take a hard left and come down by the harbor. And people that aren't familiar with Powell River or just creatures of habit, they do exactly the same thing. So you get 14 or 15 cars following that one turn. And if you're coming down on a busy day and you're waiting with a truck and trailer to either get a boat out or get a boat in, and there's two other people using the ramp and coming out, now you got a traffic congestion you can't do anything with, because the cars can't make that corner without doing about a 5-point turn. The guy can't come out of the ramp with a boat, and the guy waiting to go in is on the horn. It's just a nightmare. And alluding to Rod with the fish cleaning station, that was gonna go in the tie down area, and the tie down area is big enough for 3 trucks and trailers. So you got 3 trucks and trailers parallel with the road across from the treatment pump they just put in. You don't have that's no longer 2-way traffic, that's just 1 way. And that's my case in point is engineering or Cam to the powers to be should maybe make a suggestion that coming down Courtney Street to the harbor out to Wharf Street is 1-way traffic. And it's only that way. So when you come off the ferry, you can't make that hard left. You can go up to Willington and you can do your pickup and drop off, but it's just a nightmare, and it's gonna get worse. There's more people using the ramp, the fishing's getting better, more people are getting into boating. And it's something that should be taken under serious consideration. So I just wanted to bring that up in the committee just for discussion, and, I think it's a huge improvement that could be made. And there's probably lots of legalities to it, but just,
Correct me if I'm wrong, was that not at one point 1-way traffic?
I don't recall.
I kind of, I
Yeah, not that I remember.
yeah, I'm thinking back maybe 15, 20 years ago, it was 1-way traffic.
Yeah, I don't think so.
It was from where the old South Gate was up to the boat ramp. That was 1-way, and that was exactly what you're saying.
And Derek will be able to answer that.
yeah, it could be. I honestly don't recall that either, but just like I said, moving forward, I think it's good food for thought. I don't.
Is this something that signage can address?
Yeah, people don't read signs. If it was legally 1 way, it would be, you have to abide by it. But if you just put, signs, there's suggestions. You can't put 1-way traffic unless it actually is 1-way traffic.
Yeah, it's not a legal street, so it's something that the city could address.
Yeah.
So we make things like this, in other areas, obviously with, roads everywhere, so we could probably have a peek at that and review it and talk to the engineering team and come up with some comments or solutions or just have a hard look at it.
Yeah, no, that's. Yes,
We got a traffic light, it's getting pretty narrow.
Are there any negatives associated with doing it?
Well, me personally, I thought about it, I was gonna bring this up in June to the committee, but I thought let's leave it over the summer, because more of us are down there, you probably see the congestion. I personally don't see a negative with it,
Yeah.
now people coming off Texas and Comox Ferry that want to turn, but they might see a negative with it, but
Yeah.
ultimately that property
is part of the lease for the North Harbor, so ultimately it should be conducive to the harbor, right? And yeah, in my opinion, I don't see any negative, but that's just one person.
But there's a lot of people parked on the uphill side, while they wait for somebody getting up there, so that's.
Yeah, but they can do that on
You have to come down and around and,
Yeah, it's just rerouting, so they're coming down Courtney and doing that.
the
So,
parking spots are still there.
yeah.
It's
Good work.
when the boats, so the downside is when the boats are lined up to launch, coming down Courtney can be challenging too.
It can be, yeah, no, I understand that for sure, and then to add more chaos into the mix, if that new sign that went up for DFO, that probably took 3 feet of those 2 parking spaces, so now those 2 vehicles that are occupying those loading zones are now 3 feet aft. So, yeah, so if there's a full-size truck there, it's everything a car can do just to get by, let alone 2 vehicles.
That's one of my immediate thoughts is potentially make it so that instead of ending, end parking into there, you can.
Side parking.
They decide parking, that's gonna bring people over closer to the water.
That's,
You're a little more latitude, you still have room, there's no fish station for a pie down.
yeah.
Further to the south, so yeah, there's a bunch of stuff we can look at.
You're gonna have during Moby Zone park then.
There you go.
Okay, so staff's aware of this issue and, they got it on the radar, so that's, good news.
Jim, can I backtrack a bit? Survey? Did we decide anything? Is the survey over? Are you still handing out hard copies at the office? What?
Well, we're bringing results forward to the next meeting, I know that much.
From what I understand, the online survey closed on Monday.
Right.
And Cam was going to check that.
Also, it's Jan and there's no more distribution.
Let's check out next meeting on our numbers and see how it went. Get some feedback.
Well, can we left open for a couple of minutes?
I think it's closed already.
It's close.
Well, the survey monkey one is closed. Jen's also handing out hard copies at the office.
It's usually better to close it all at the same time, but
Yeah, I wish they had been a closing date announced at the outset. The reason I'm asking, I know I was talking to a guy today, he was gonna go to the office tomorrow and get a questionnaire.
So can you still get a questionnaire right now?
Yeah. It's all cool, not to.
No matter when you close it, somebody's going to be after it.
Oh, it would be very good.
Might I suggest that, it sounds like there's interest in doing it again, take another snapshot.
Yeah.
That's certainly a possibility, and like Jim had said, they would mail out for sort of notices coming up fairly soon.
So does that also mean that people dropping off hard copy questionnaires is also closed?
Typically it should be, should be close. It's close.
Whatever.
Okay, well, we'll see what comes forward in November here. Now, questions? Sir, you have any questions?
I like it down there.
Anybody on the screen? Nobody on the screen? Yeah, Jeff, go ahead.
That's not on me, that's gonna be on the city to, well, when we get pushed out.
Isn't it your property that?
It's on our property, if we're leaving
Not the
it,
property, but then the improvements
or you're,
two seat cans and.
the UC can, yeah.
Modules.
Sorry, I don't have a timeline for when we're gonna start, it'll be when we start working in the South Harbor. Move those sea cans down there, but we gotta get a fence up and shroud and try to see what's what we.
Is that coming up? You guys got everything you need to proceed with that construction? No.
Working at the speed of the federal government.
Okay.
Get what you need there, Jeff?
Sorry, I can't give you that.
It's in progress.
yeah, there we go.
Any other comments before I call for adjournment? The next meeting will be on November 5th, which is a Wednesday. First Wednesday in November.
We're in October, November, next thing you know, it'll be Christmas. What is happening?
They're gonna cancel that, yes.
Okay, call for adjournment. Moved by Rob, seconded, all in favor. We are adjourned.
Thanks, Steve.
At 8:14. Let's,
Thanks, folks.
sooner than you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So this is not.
Okay. Why don't you put it in email?
Yeah.
The best way. Yeah, just put it in email. That's the best way to do it. It's just easier.
Thanks for
Yeah.
being here.
Yeah. No, interesting. That was good. That was fine. Nice to meet you all. See you later. Bye.
Yeah, they can't get up. I don't so sure that. Yeah.
For the 1 week time.
That's right, they can fill it out, wait,
They have to go over traffic. Yeah. They can't go that way.
But one mile is just here, right? The whole distance is like, and you're worried
That's
about-
right, we can have the one right
What?
here, going down from the parking lot.
So they can still come in from the left.
Yeah.
Yeah, turn around, find a spot, turn around.
There could be more discussion on that. Kevin brought up the point that the traffic congestion coming out of the South Harbor. Traffic is there.